Hello and good afternoon. Good afternoon to EMA's first hybrid event. I'm bricking it, put it out there. And I apologize. I'm going to apologize to my skills, my styles, me reading my notes, etc. as we go through this session. And I take my hat off already now to the professionals out there who do this for a living. It isn't easy. We're in a proper studio. We're in the XR studio at the Lancaster Hotel. XR, extended reality. More about that a little later on. But it's a great facility and it allows us to bring an event, a hybrid event, out to the bigger audience out there, which are many of our members are already now starting to do. So here we are, 8 months into the pandemic. We were told it would be all fine by Christmas. We'd soon have a vaccine. Well, it's not, and we haven't. The infection and hospitalization rates are going up. The country has introduced, it's probably already introduced it this afternoon, new restrictions. And we're still, as I believe, really in the eye of the storm. You know, the eye of the storm is the calmer part of the storm, if that's what you can call it. But, you know, getting into the storm was pretty horrendous, and there's still a lot to come. There really is going to be a lot of casualties in our industry, a lot of casualties in business. And what is the new norm going to be? But I think we've got another 12 to 24 months, in truth, to know what that new is going to be until a vaccine is widely available and distributed, which is also a massive job in its own pace. So whilst businesses have temporarily adopted the world of virtual as a means to communicate with one another, there's still a desperate need to get back to live. We've been talking as EMA members across our group about this, and last week we had a call, and absolutely everyone understands the importance of doing what we do at the moment through virtual, but it is no substitute for live. And you know, our companies, our businesses are desperate to get back to live as soon as we can. They need to have that contact. I think even Boris said himself last week on his virtual presentation from the Conservative conference that, you know, he misses being with his members. He misses being able to talk to them, sidebar conversations. He misses being able to look them in the eye and say, you know, what he truly means and power to Boris, etc., etc. And that can't happen. And all companies are the same. They want to get their people back together. However, we're using virtual. We're getting certain bits of communication done. It's what we have to do. And we know that hybrid is coming. So we're here really to talk about hybrid and the future of events as we move forward over the next 12 to 24 months. But I'm going to kick off today by inviting Paul Brown from London Convention Bureau, our partners in this. Thanks to Paul for pulling this all together, for giving us the support that London and Partners, the marketing arm of the Mayor's Office, give to us as EMA, and helping us put this event on today. So before we do that, Paul's going to come on stage and we're going to have a little bit of video about what London has to offer.
London is one of the most vibrant cities in the world.
There's a fantastic tech community, there's a diversity of people, there's investors, all of the pieces are here.
London is this extraordinary asset for itself of all the talent here.
London supports new ways of thinking. That's what innovation needs.
London's role has really been around being at the heart of core regulation that is opening the doors to new business opportunities that will change consumers' lives.
The most exciting thing about the future of AI is the potential to give us back time.
Here you can meet all the great, amazing AI researchers.
Look forward to a bright future with you.
We have these brilliant ideas with brilliant people in the health space. We have huge opportunities.
We're specifically working on cancer detection using deep learning. And, we've got a lot of support in London from the government to really deploy our technology throughout the UK.
We want people who know the field of gene therapy, and there are many people who are trained in world-class universities who have that level of talent.
London has an incredible talent diversity. When we have 20 nationalities in our companies, surely we're going to have games that are very creative and appeal to everyone in the world. We started in East London, which became Tech City, with nothing but a credit card and a bit of a crazy dream.
Want to be a global business, you need to have a diverse global team. London is the best place in the world to be able to build that diverse team.
Technology is booming. There's a great ecosystem of other startups and tech businesses that really hold each other's hands to help them grow together.
Everybody wants to be here. Everybody wants to work here.
The future that can be built here is so great that it can shine as a beacon of the rest of the world.
Before you start, well, I can't agree any more than what that video says. I think it's amazing. London is an amazing city. I've been very fortunate to have worked most of my life in London and built my business in London, and the support that I've had doing that with London and partners for many years has been great. And London is the metropolis, a viving metropolis of creativity and vibrance. I'd even call it the world's meeting room, because I think we are one of the best placed cities in the world for businesses from all around the world to come together to have meetings. So thinking about that, Paul, where did the strategy come from? How has London and partners and London Convention Bureau reacted to the challenge that hit us in March? What did you do? How did you do it? How do you start to, you must have totally pivoted your strategy and where you're going.
Sure. I think, well, firstly, a huge thank you to the Royal Lancaster, to Sally and Steve, and to the whole team here. Absolutely. It's so fantastic to be here. I think, well, London Convention Bureau, we're part of London and Partners, so that's the International Trade Investment Agency for London. And what that gives us is a brilliant insights team that can give us some really interesting information about consumer trends, where people are going to spend their money looking ahead. You compare that then with industry sources, so things like Euromonitor, Visit Britain, obviously EMA, Micebook are in the audience today, as well as Haymarket. All these sources are really important. And what they tell us is that whilst absolutely there's still a lot of uncertainty right now, is that there are some common trends, and absolutely technology and innovation will be at the forefront of what this world will look like. And we're very blessed in London that I have a brilliant ecosystem there to give people those solutions when planning events. But also it's all about telling people about sustainability. You look at a city like London, that is going to be a huge part of how London recovers looking ahead. It's also talking about experience. Travel may well be a premium looking ahead. So we've really got to talk about what experience what London can give delegates when they visit here, when they're attending an event.
Absolutely. And again, it's a great place to come, great place to attend. So how have you seen your partners, because your partners are the bigger, broader supply chain within London. How have you seen them adapt to the new needs of the sector and what they're offering, what they can provide when they feel they're going to be able to provide that service?
Yeah, it's been a really challenging period for them, and absolutely it's always important to say, they've been incredible in London and obviously all around the UK in terms of supporting the government with the initial, at the initial outbreak. They've been unbelievable, typical of the events industry, giving people the solutions. I think in terms of three key areas, I'd say that venues and hotels are adapting, let's call it. Yeah. It's absolutely technology, which we're in a fantastic example here at the Royal Lancaster. It's health and safety, obviously, and it's flexibility. And I think the important thing to say with that's to be COVID secure now to host small meetings, 30 including all staff, and more looking further ahead for these larger events. So with health and safety, I think I've visited around 9 venues in the last sort of 2 to 3 weeks. That whole process, transition for a delegate, is really straightforward. It's very well communicated. It's reducing those touch points. It's making sure signage is really clear so people feel safe comfortable attending an event. And again, we've had a really great example of that today. I think technology, you know, a lot of these spaces have enhanced their technology to authentically be able to host a hybrid event. And that's definitely been a really big trend. And thirdly, which is really important to your EMA members, is flexibility. You know, flexibility is going to be the big kind of legacy, let's say, of COVID. And Adam and the ETC guys at the UK Kickstart really showcased that. And I think it's venues and hotels working with planners to make sure terms and conditions, you know, are flexible, because let's be honest, we're still in an incredibly volatile, uncertain world right now.
Yeah, very, very, very. What about trends? So what trends are you seeing from within the supply chain, the partner, or other trends that you can see that are going to support our London and the future of London and the future of this great city?
Sure. Well, I think absolutely technology, absolutely health and safety. And I think, you know, those are the two key bits. But I think one thing absolutely add to it is sustainability. For a city like London, for example, you know, sustainability is going to be at the forefront of our whole recovery. So whether it's the Tube ambitions to be zero emissions by 2030, whether the Mayor of London has very ambitious targets for London to be zero carbon by 2030, 80% of all journeys in London by 2041, they want to be on public transport, walking, or on cycle. So I think sustainability is going to be a huge part of every city, but absolutely for London. And what that means for the events industry is we are part of that solution. We're going to bring all this brilliant expertise together to action change, but also on a much more practical level, we've got some brilliant organizations that are setting up now that's giving planners some brilliant, authentic reporting measures, some great education in order to organize a sustainable event. But all that said, and much like you said at the start, Richard, you know, I think it's a really difficult time now for our industry, and, you know, but there's going to be a huge appetite for us to return to face-to-face events. You know, people want to meet each other. We're social animals. You know, people want to learn from each other. People want to be upskilling. People want to motivate each other. You know, so when people feel comfortable coming out, you know, the numbers are much more favorable than they are now. There'll be a huge appetite for each industry sector to come back and meet face-to-face.
Absolutely. I have to say that I was kind of nervous and excited today. A very strange feeling. You know, this is the first one we've done. This is the first time that I've been in London now since kind of just beginning of the year to do a live event. And so I was also, you know, nervous about that, coming back into town, the whole thing and everything else, but also excited about it. And I also have to say that again, it's, you know, just the way that the process that we've gone through and the structure that again, at the end of the day, the hotel have put in place to make you feel comfortable and secure is really important. Because I think that's one of the biggest issues and challenges that we're going to face as an industry is, yes, you put an event on, is then getting people to come to that event, getting people, those executives, those meetings, that staff to say, yes, I can go. So, you know, the part of that is this, when we're allowed to, is that communication of it is safe, we will look after you.
Completely agree.
I think your partners are doing a great job in showing that. I know how hard you guys are working to do that, to get that message across.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you.
We're now going to bring up a panel. So I'm going to invite, we're going to have a panel of speakers up from Sally, the GM at the hotel, to Deborah from the QE2 Centre, and Adam from ETC Venues. So I'm going to kick that off by asking Deborah to come up onto the stage, and we're going to quickly show a little video of the stuff that the technology and everything else can help you, what's here in the hotel, to the members. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Sally Beck. I'm General Manager of the Royal Lancaster London, and I'm delighted that we're opening our doors again after COVID-19. During the time we've been closed, we've been really, really busy. We've worked with Smart AV and produced a mixed reality production studio. So it's a mixture of actual reality that can be done in our Westbourne suite here, socially distanced and all safe with government guidelines, or virtual reality, where you can actually talk to your clients, talk to your customers worldwide from this studio. We believe we're the only hotel in Europe that can offer this service, and we actually think we may be the only one in the world. So this is the beauty of virtual reality and actual reality. So here we are in the new world. So come and join us, Royal Lancaster London with Smart AV and our mixed reality studio.
Sally, thank you very much. It's amazing. The studio here is amazing. It feels like we need to be professionals. We are in a TV studio. But please tell us all a little bit more about it.
I will. Thank you very much, Richard. So you all saw the video that we put together back in April. Actually, sorry, that's wrong. Actually, it was April when Scott came to talk to me and say, would we put together, or would we trust enough to build a virtual reality studio in our hotel? We took a decision and thought, yes, let's give it a go. And the XR stage was installed in mid-June. It's about a £1.5 million worth of investment that Smart AV have put into our hotel. And it's semi-permanent, as you can see. We didn't open our hotel until the August bank holiday. But from when the stage was set in June and July, we started having clients in. And they started rehearsing, spending time, getting used to the set and the stage. And then we opened end of August. And then we hosted, one of the first big blue chip companies that we hosted was BP. And I'm grateful to Bernard Looney, the CEO, who allowed me to talk about the week that they hosted here. They did 15 hours of live broadcast. They built 2 studios. They used the 9 Kings studio. And they hosted his board meeting here, his key division heads, and they had 14,000 online delegates all around the world for BP Week. So it was great. The benefit of working with us and Smart AV is obviously what you're experiencing now. We operate within the government guidelines. We've got 30 socially distanced people now. During the BP week, we had 2 sets of 30. We've got 400 bedrooms, car parking, gym. I have a team of professionals that know how to run our events amazingly well. We work with an occupational nurse to give us advice on government guidelines and how to implement them. We're COVID-safe accreditations from the AA and from Visit England. So I think by combining Smart AV and the Royal Lancaster, we're able to deliver that mixed reality of actual and virtual to create those hybrid events. So we started with a 6 months, let's see how we go. We're now really looking at the next 18 months, 2 years, I think. And I think as the world develops and events start to return, virtual and hybrid events are here to stay.
Absolutely. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for that, Sally. Some great thoughts and insight. And to see a hotel taking a lead, because I believe you're the first hotel in London to have done this, to take the lead and to partner with Smart AV, and great to see them, a company like that partnering this and bringing this facility together. So our next speaker is, our panelist is going to be Adam Simpson, the marketing director from ETC Venues. ETC Venues have got, I think, well, many venues across the country, but 17 venues in both London, Manchester, Birmingham, and New York. So Adam, tell us a little bit about your facilities and what you're doing.
Yes, thank you, Richard. And look, firstly, fantastic to be here with a live audience. Wonderful to be back on stage. It's wonderful to have that opportunity. And we've got to make the most of this time now, because hybrid is going to be around for a while, and it's going to allow us to have live and virtual audiences. I don't know how many we've got on virtual today, but
I think we have over 90 people out there.
Okay, good. So I'm going to just talk you through quickly about ETC Venues and how with hybrid you can deliver greater value. So look, hybrid has been well, we've been doing hybrid for many years now, probably before the term really got into circulation. And we know that we're uniquely placed to actually deliver hybrid events, and we know what makes it tick to get it right. That's something that we put together in our partnership, which we launched back in May. So our partnership with Glisser, which we launched in May, brings together two key components. The first is our world-class infrastructure, and the second is their leading hybrid software. Now, to elaborate slightly on that has three components to it. The first is that you've got experience with us. We've done these events. We've hosted events, 2 masterclasses. We've hosted the UK Kickstart event. We've connected between London and New York. We've connected between London and 10 locations around the country, all with connections back in as well. So that's the experience. We've got the flexibility as well. We've got a flexibility with 270 rooms across the UK and the US that allows you to use it for the purpose you need, whether that's a green screen up in Birmingham, or it's a live view audience in London, or it's both a green screen and a live view in New York and London at the same time. You need the flexibility there to be able to deal with, because one size does not fit all. And lastly, we've got the innovative team, a team that's come together and knows what the pitfalls are of events in hybrid, have run them, and can actually help you and guide you through that, and make sure that your event delivers one key thing, and that is that it delivers an experience for your delegates. So we deliver that experience and we deliver the broadcast quality. And at the end of the day, that's a better experience for all. And it goes on to giving greater value for everyone who's participating in that event. What do I mean by greater value? Greater value comes from 5 key benefits, I think. So more professional, you're gonna look good, and you're gonna feel like your audience can see you looking well and looking on form. Engaging, more engaging. Your delegates and your attendees are going to interact more, they will. More effective. You're actually going to get your presentation content across more effectively in these events. More gravitas. Your message is taken seriously. And then more opportunity. The data itself that you can learn from hybrid events means that you can improve on the next one. The result of all of that presents itself with some challenges, but at the end of the day, I think those challenges are addressed in the solution that we offer. One of the big challenges that hybrid presents itself with is audience participation. I think audience participation is a bigger problem for the live audiences than it is for the online. When we ran our events hybrid, we had 200 questions come in from the online, but you didn't get someone raise their hand in the live audience. So you've got to give them the tool within the audience live to engage as well. They've all got smartphones, they can connect, so use that. And use the EMC to connect as well. Use that person to bring in the audience members. Second challenge is networking. We've had it mentioned already, networking. But events for 3,000, just put that into context. Do you actually interact with 3,000 people? No. No one does. No one has a meaningful conversation with 3,000 event attendees. You're lucky if you might be talking to maybe 10, 15. Actually, the 30 that we have in this room means that we probably will interact with everyone. That's double the number you would normally get. So look, don't look at interaction and networking as a solution that you can't overcome. It's something that if you get the right components, if you have 30 in 4 different rooms, you'll get all of them interacting. And on the virtual side, use Brella or Grip as integrations in our platform that allow you to get those guys to interact as well. And the last one of the challenges that we address is sponsorship. Now, sponsorship, when you look back at how live events worked, we engineered sponsorship. We engineered it so that the coincidence of having lunch in the exhibition hall was no coincidence at all. It was because we made those interactions between the live audience and the sponsors so that they participated and interacted. you've got to apply that same engineering into virtual events. So YouTube do it really well. They put 5-second videos in front of content. So you have to watch that 5 seconds first before you're actually able to watch what you really wanted to. But there's no reason why that couldn't be an interaction with a sponsor. Put the 5 seconds on, I have a conversation with my sponsor, they get the interaction they wanted, and then you move on to the content. And that's built into our platform. So the platform as a whole and the infrastructure as we offer it delivers those three key things. You've got the flexibility, you've got the innovation of the team, and you've got that infrastructure behind us. So look, ETC Venues is definitely ready. The opportunities are limitless. Are you ready for hybrid?
Thank you. A little video there?
You got a break.
Yeah. Thank you, Adam. And as I said earlier, I'm ready for live. I really am ready to get back to live and stop this bloody computer Zoom stuff and everything else. We're pushing that name, aren't we? But yes, we are ready. We're desperately ready. I think the industry is desperately ready. We just need the government to understand that we can start doing live sensibly. This is not Canal Street in Manchester or anything like that. You know, these are sensible, professional people who want to come together to have meetings, to help drive their businesses and drive our economy. So our next panelist, Deborah Jones. Deborah heads up the sales for the QE2 Centre around their live and their technology. You've turned it, haven't you? QE2 Live. Deborah, no one else is closer than Parliament than you guys. You're across the road from them. You belong to them. So come and tell us about what you at the QE2 Centre are doing.
Well, this is a very strange situation to be in. Here I am talking about hybrid events for the Queen Elizabeth II Centre at the wonderful Royal Lancaster Hotel and online. So I want to tell you about how we're going to run them there and how we've been running them for many years. So on the 23rd of March, there was lockdown. The Queen Elizabeth II Centre closed its doors. We actually had an annual general meeting client who begged us, could they conduct their annual general meeting on our doorstep without even entering? But being the government, we weren't allowed to. So unfortunately, we couldn't oblige on that one occasion. We were already set up to run on Office 365. We're on Microsoft Teams. We had experience of hybrid events anyway. So everything is set for reopening and we're ready now. We really know that travel is essential for live events. And as you all know, during lockdown, we weren't allowed to travel. And it seems to me that, you know, live events may not ever be the same again anyway, and that the future is probably in hybrid events. And an online audience, as you know, can double or triple or quadruple or make your audience infinite anyway. So there are lots of advantages to running hybrid events. You can also improve delegate engagement. A lot of delegates don't want to come up to a microphone and pose a question, but they chatter quite happily online. So we put in our sanitation measures for the centre. We put the policy on our website, and we put together our hybrid event packages, and we price them up. Our strategy at the Queen Elizabeth II Centre is to run hybrid events on all floors. We've got 32 spaces. We want to run as many events as we were running in a hybrid fashion. So we want to run between 5 or 6 hybrid events a day, 7 days a week. And in order to do that, we had to enhance our equipment. We've also invested in equipment. And we want to make it as accessible as possible to the whole range of clients. So we ordered the equipment in May. Such is the demand, we've only just completed the delivery. So in terms of what it will look like, it is a strategy that is really economic. We're using physical backdrops because we have a center, we have lots of physical backdrops. We are ensuring that our cameras are like the ones here, they're PTZ cameras, which means pan, tilt, zoom. They don't have an independent operator. They can have presets, so you can set it for the head and shoulders shot, you can set it for the top table shot, and you can set it for the wide shot of the audience. And this can all be done by far fewer technicians. And that way, the client saves money. We can also, you know, we're going to be living with COVID for some time. So we've trained up all our technicians to run with streaming, and also our project managers. So we can brand and monetize the hybrid event. As previous speakers were saying, the way the financial model works for particularly virtual exhibition, it's entirely different. And we have to capture that and make that real for our clients. So with traditionally online audiences have been you have complementary spaces. With virtual exhibition, you have to sponsor and monetize that income in a different way. And our project managers are trained to add branding and sponsorship to the stream. And they can all do it, I myself can do it, and it's so that the package is all encompassing, but at the lowest possible price point. We're going to be living with COVID-19 for some time, so we need to be agile in our response, and other speakers have already hinted on that. We need to be really flexible, and for us, that's in terms of budget, and also in terms of our clients. We have clients that are just running a board meeting for 10, but also they're running an association meeting for 3,000. They need to be able to do an average seminar with one camera operator and one stream, and then they also need to adapt it and do some video conferencing or some chat or whatever. They need to have the basic choice, but they need to understand what you can add to that so that it fits in flexibly with their budget and with their actual program. So if they want to zoom in a client, and because they can't possibly travel to that particular meeting, then that should be really possible. It should be using software that is accessible and is familiar to the client. If they want to add chat, we will use any platform that the client is familiar with. We will use Glisser, we will use Slido. It doesn't matter to us. We just want the client to be comfortable and to inspire the confidence that will bring back live events. And finally, I just want to enhance the idea that the client is going through an education process as well, and that they need to understand what all these separate elements might be and how they might enhance the event and how they are different from each other. And that education is all part of the process of inspiring that confidence. So on my last point, I'd like to mention the freelance community. We have a massive freelance community for the hospitality industry. They are the people that are there at the venue before we're even up. They're the people who are the last to leave site. They are there, invisible, but always supporting us. And now I think they need our support. So I'd like to end up by saying thank you to all our freelance community and bring back live events.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you. So guys, what we're going to do, we're now going to have a chat. I've got a few questions to throw at the three of you. I'm sure you've got questions to talk to one another about, and we're going to throw it out to the audience as well. So we've got a live audience here. So if anybody does want to, or there's a really important question they want to raise, we have a microphone there. Just wave your hand and sort of float around the microphone, and I'll bring you in. And to you 90+ people out there on the pavements of London who missed being here and are not here, who could have been here, you can ask a question or throw some comments into the chat area or the questions and answer area out there on our Zoom link. Christina will pick up on those, and the pertinent ones she thinks she wants to throw into the mix, she'll step forward. We've got about 25 minutes now to have this discussion. So that's just sort of giving you a bit of framework of how we're going to sort of try to interact. And I did say this is a sort of our first attempt at something like this. But I found it really, what was really inspiring to me and for me to hear here is how venues are already now ahead of that game, they're thinking ahead of what is needed for the future and what hybrids are. Because I think, you know, setting this kit up, you said £1.5 million investment. I was thinking maybe 150,000 or something like that to bring the kit into a dry hire space and put it up and everything. So the cost is enormous. Whereas, I'll quiz you perhaps a bit later on the cost of this, of hiring your facilities. But to kick off, Sally, with you, what helped drive your strategy to do this? I mean, I guess you talked to the other hotels and you made a
I didn't actually.
big push.
I didn't actually. I spoke to Scott and to Ryan. We've worked with Smart AV for about 20 years. So there's a really good relationship and there's really good trust. And I think when you're in chaos, where we are now, crisis, there's chaos, there's also opportunity. So when Scott first said to me, I mean, we could see our events cancelling and the diary moving through the year as events think, well, let's just see what it's looking 3 months' time, let's see what it looks another 3 months' time. And it was like, you know, we're just seeing our business disappear and you need to do something. And they came with a proposition that for me was low risk, but also made a huge amount of sense for us to capture some business, some market, and create market where there wasn't any in a hotel we've got a lot of event space. There was a degree of risk because we had pieces of business in the diary and I was committing to the space for a minimum of 6 months, otherwise it wasn't going to be worth it for Smart AV. And I think the relationship helps. The other thing is we're independent. I didn't have a head office to go to or any big red tape to fight through. It was more a case of if I thought it was made sense and they thought it made sense, we could set something up and take a punt. And that's what we did. And I think if you do have the relationships and the right partnerships in place, then it helps you make courageous decisions quite easily. So it really, for me, it was a bit of a no-brainer.
I think it's amazing foresight because I think you're that trailblazer now because I can see many. I mean, I know there's some other studios around different facilities and stuff like that around London, but I think for the hotels to take that position, put it in, it's going to reduce the cost to the user down enormously. Which I think is great. And I think Debbie, what you were talking about there was similar to what you're doing. You brushed over a little bit, but you said you've invested heavily in technology. So have you created a similar sort of facility?
We haven't invested that heavily because, in fact, we had a lot of equipment anyway.
Absolutely.
And also we're aiming, as I say, at being able to do it in lots of different rooms at the same time. So we've got a lot of equipment that we bought several units of, and the way we do the branding, it's very simple because we've got the expertise. Each of our project managers can just drop in banners, drop in advertising, and then obviously when you open up on the live stream, you don't want to see people being mic'd up and that sort of thing. So there on the splash page, it's an ideal opportunity to brand. So we made a much smaller investment. It was between 80 and 100,000. It still sounds like a lot of money, and it is, but it's obviously in comparison, it's a lot less. But we actually had a lot of the equipment already as well. And as I say, the way we're doing it, we're doing a really basic package, which consists of a PTZ camera. And then it goes into one of our switchers. And then we can do what we call picture-in-picture, which is do 2 images at the same time for one projector out. And then we enter it into another bit of software, which everybody will be familiar with, Wirecast, which ingests it, and then another one onto the live feed, and then out onto our hosting site. So it's really a really step-by-step process. It's very, very simple. It's not like what we've been used to, which was a lot of VC, a lot of video conferencing, where you might be streaming in operations from a local London hospital, and then from another one in Edinburgh, and then another one in Madrid, and then you've got a holding laptop, which is like a waiting room, and then you're sending those feeds to the screen in one of our venues, which is actually a lot more complicated than the hybrid events that we're talking about. And in this way, it's all very familiar to our clients. They're used to doing some of them much more complicated stuff. Some of them are used to doing just live events, which I think will never be replaced. And that's why we're all here. You will never get that serendipity on an online audience. But, you know, I just think that if you can offer all these different things, hybrid events is more choice. It's not distinct. It's with the live events, it's with the VC, it's with everything else.
Well, it's that transition, it's that evolution that we're now going through, that we're finding, and we're still finding our way in it. You know, our members have constantly been asked for different things that, could it do this, can it do that? So they're having to learn so rapidly on, you know, these were event marketers, event planners, and all of a sudden they're becoming producers and tech gurus. And I know they you know, they have their friends, they have their partners, but there's so much to learn.
Well, I don't think it needs to be difficult. I really don't think it needs to be difficult. As I say, if you start off with something basic and all our stuff is online, all our prices and everything, you go on to qeiicenter.london, then you'll see it there. Because you can simplify it right down. Okay, so the tech is you know, there are things that you don't really need to know. And I keep telling you, so I'll shut up now. But it can be simplified and made practical for every client.
Yeah, it's that understanding what the objectives are for the business and what best tech to use to partner with that. So, Adam, you've got, I think, 17 live venues.
17 live venues,
the UK, and I think 3 in New York.
2 in New York now, yeah. So
one
one's coming in May, and one that's already open over there. So different.
Which is very exciting. So one of the things that's being talked about within the industry is the hub and spoke, or the spider's web of events and stuff like that. So presumably you, and I'm guessing you guys as well, can do it, but partnering with other venues, can you link your venues? So can I have a seminar in 3 different properties, talking to one another, having speakers from one, pre-recorded stuff, so the whole thing looks like its own TV show. Like flicking from one, that's like the news, isn't it? Flicking one studio to another studio.
Absolutely, and look, we're in some uncertain times, and have been for a while, and they're not nothing's getting much more certain as we go on. We're waiting for Boris to probably change the goalposts again.
And changed.
He might have done it now. And with that, businesses want to be agile. They want to be able to work from different locations. They want to be able to present events from different locations. And yes, the hub and spoke idea, which is something we've actually put into practice, not only connecting our London hub with New York, something I know Paul was very keen to try and showcase, the 2 great cities coming together, but also within the UK, connecting the UK London Kickstart event across the UK to Belfast, to the ICC in Wales, up to Liverpool. So we put that in practice, and I think it allows one thing. It allows us to get back to live even within the restrictions. So yes, we can only have 30 people in a room, but actually we had 300 people watching that live and networking live across the UK. It's not that complex, and it can be done. So it just requires our creative thinking, which is what us as event industry professionals are all about, to apply that and use it effectively.
Yeah, I mean, I personally believe this is an evolution of a new dawn in the events arena. And I mean, I've spoken a few times with EMA about, you know, instead of we used to be event management, and I pushed the agenda to say, no, we're event marketing. Marketing is about the objective, not the process. Event management is what we do. So it's very much about focusing on the management. And I've now started to talk and feeling some pushback, but having this engagement with members around engagement management. Because at the end of the day, that's what an event is. It's about engaging with your customers, with your community, with your people. And whatever process you do that through, it needs to be a far more integrated approach to this. Have you guys had to up your pipe, as they say? You know, I mean, the amount of power, or whatever you want to call it. I'm lost in you. You're the techie. You know, your feed.
No, I talked about infrastructure at the beginning, and we had that world-class infrastructure. It had been something that had been tested pretty heavily with FTSE 100 companies putting their grad programs into our properties. You take 600 individuals, 3 devices each, on an 8-week program, all connected via VPN, and you're going to put some test through that infrastructure. And equally, when those guys are then also having to do exams online, which if there's a fail in that, you lose 600 people's exam capabilities, you can't have that fall over. So look, hybrid has been built on that infrastructure and needs that key infrastructure there to deliver seamless experiences. But it doesn't mean we can't forget the engagement piece. We need to always come back to that.
No. I think the facility, the structure of that facility, everything else, that again that's just a tool, isn't it? It's again what we want to do with it and everything else. But we have to have these basic hygiene factors to a certain extent, the capabilities which you've put in here.
Yeah, I think I mean when we partnered with Smart AV, I mean our hotel is an event hotel for years, so we've always had a big pipe. But you always make sure you've got everything covered for every eventuality. But I think the professionals that you work with in terms of putting your tech in know exactly what they're doing and give all the safeguards that you need. I mean, say when BP used us, we were 2 studios, global, 14,000, didn't affect the pipe at all. So it's creativity, and I think we've been finding our way over the last few months about extending the creativity that we're using. Smart AV have got, I think, in New York and Los Angeles studios already. We were talking about one with Tracy just now about an Asia footprint. You know, with the platform that we have here with the hotels, it gives an added dimension, which is really necessary. And I think as people start developing, a little bit like you're talking about engagement and marketing within the events arena, they're going to start pushing the boundaries of the creativity, which is going to be great. People are going to get more confident. This is your very first time standing in this platform. Next time, it's going to be much easier, and the time after that, you're going to start pushing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we've found as we've been working together since the start of this. So this is just the start of the new world. And I think the creativity is going to stretch and stretch. I think, you know, the piece was the pop idol thing at the start.
Yeah.
You know, when I looked at that first off, I thought, God, how the hell did they do that? Now I know how they do it, and I've got it quite simple in my head. So, you know, it will continue developing. And I think it's just about us as suppliers somehow allowing the client to understand the capability so they can then think practically about the message that they need to get out, that they need to say to their audience, whether it's buyers, suppliers, or stakeholders. And I think that will be really interesting as it develops.
Just to pick up on Sally here, what we're definitely experiencing about events is that there are no capacity boundaries any longer.
No.
So 14,000, 3,000, you don't have to worry about how big your ballroom is and how many people it can fit in it. A hybrid event has a limitless boundary in terms of the number of people attending it. So 30 is fine because we can actually add 3,500 on top. So I think this hybrid offering that we've got is actually is an opportunity to grow into markets we have never been in before, and start staging events of colossal size. And then you're starting to get into the broadcast arena where, you know, you're competing with TV channels. But,
yeah, I forgot to mention earlier on, though, sorry, the guys that are out there, you don't know this, but CNN were here filming today and doing some interviews, and they're going to be running a program on the, you know, the mice industry and what's happening. And what was really interesting is the producer looked at all of this setup, and he said, "That's a TV studio. You're going to be competing with us." So look, you mentioned something really important there, was about the reach of the virtual or the hybrid event. And I think, you know, businesses and companies are now seeing that. When I had my agency, many times we spoke to our clients about, you know, you'd invite 500 people with the objective of getting 100 to 150 people attend that conference. And the question was always there, so what's happening with the other 350 people? Should we not be recording this and streaming it, or at least podcasting afterwards and stuff like that? And clients, a lot were very fearful about that because there was a feeling that, one, there's an extra cost, and it's quite a substantial cost. And the other was that it will dilute the power of the event. Those people want to be here, you know, we want them at our event. If they if they don't come to the event, if they know they can watch it online, they won't come to the event. However, what has happened with the research now, the discussions that we've had within EMA and our senior leaders forum, which has over 70 heads of departments from many corporations across the UK, is they're absolutely now, hybrid is the way forward. Live is so important to their businesses. They know that they're going to have to do hybrids in the event, but they're not fearful of that anymore. And there's a couple of big events recently. And EY did the Entrepreneur of the Year Awards. All right, a friend of mine was involved with that. And they usually have, I think they're going to have 500 people in Monte Carlo for the awards ceremony. I think they reached over 10,000 viewers on the night live, and it's grown and grown since then, everything else. And in fact, they partnered with CNN to do that. So that was an amazing achievement. I'm just trying to think of another big event that's gone out recently like that. But we're seeing the TV stuff, but big conference stuff has gone out and they put messages out there. And the FT, what they did, they pivoted totally. They have a whole program of conferences, which are revenue generators. And I want to come on to that sponsorship and activation of that. But big revenue generators. And once they started to go live, they realized they were reaching so many more people. They were coming to their event through that. So they sit absolutely awesome there, sees, the future of an event is going to be a hybrid. Now, you touched briefly, I know, guys, I want to talk about the sponsorship and the exposure, or the partnership, or the networking. Have what we're thinking about that and how we can do that? Because I think that is going to be a massive challenge. Sponsors sponsor a conference. These our members go both ways, as we say. They're either, many times they're sponsoring somebody else's conference, or they have sponsors for their conferences, and sometimes they sit both sides of the fence on different occasions. But of course, the generation of revenue or income or part sharing the cost through sponsorship is important, and how those sponsors get some exposure for that, and it's not just a logo up on the wall. I think that's going to be a really important, and how you can help these people network. And I think that's the next big challenge.
I think you should approach it from a different way in terms of sponsorship. As I was saying, traditionally, delegates online don't pay, but you also offsetting your registration fees from live events with the exhibition. Now, the exhibitors have, if you've got a big live events meeting, the exhibition is often a really big part of that, and the revenue is it offsets the registration fee nicely. Obviously, if you've got shell skiing, that's fine because they're socially distanced then. You're physically inhibited by the 30, so the footfall isn't there. So the way you do it is you encourage your exhibitors to become delegates. They have their virtual exhibition. People are doing virtual exhibitions every day at the moment. But exhibitors are turning into more of a VIP delegate, and maybe they're paying to be there. Maybe they're the paying delegates. And then they obviously have a splash page, they have their branding, it might even look like a stand. They have all their marketing collateral there, they have chat rooms as we know them, as participants know them. They are becoming more like delegates. And I think that a lot of the virtual exhibition software now is almost self-service. You don't have to have an avatar who's walking through your rooms. You can have a chat room. And there are lots and lots of little packages out there which integrate perfectly with your hybrid events. So you can have live events, you can have people with shell scheme, and then you can have your hybrid event. And again, the same exhibitors can have a presence online. And that's how you monetize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's I mentioned the engineering side of things, and we all know how we engineer it in live events already. We put food in a room and let the delegates think they're being fed in one location, but actually they're letting their exhibitors interact. I think it's the same kind of engineering that you need to think about for the virtual. And there's loads of ways in which one can do that, but actually it's making that virtual attendee kind of need to go through a journey to get to the next bit of content, whether that's passing an exhibition and interacting. But you've got to bear in mind what the crucial element of sponsorship is. They want one-to-one engagement with that audience. That's what they want. They want, as salespeople all sat here today, we like to go and be able to reach out to our prospects. If you can't feel like you can reach out, and the only way you can do that is a video, you're not really getting a meaningful conversation. So it's about facilitating that element, whether that's, as I mentioned, the YouTube style, but actually that's just it pops up and you have to have a conversation with someone because then you've done the reach out. Or it's a solution where you actually pass to the key exhibitors who are able to then call out to you and say, can I have a chat afterwards? I know you're going on to a content, just in the same way as we're doing in live, but you've got to look at the same mechanics. So I think that's exciting, and I think it's something that we're certainly building into the platform we use, just to make sure that sponsorship is, or that need within sponsorship is fed. Can I just go back to your boundaries side? We had an association come to us who said, we said, what's your event size? They had 100,000 membership. And I said, that's fantastic. So how many people attend your event? 18,000. So what happens to the remainder of your membership? And I think this is a massive opportunity for London to get ahead and start entertaining some of those really, really huge events.
Yeah.
And entertaining them with hundreds of thousands online and the rest in some of these great venues that we have.
Okay, I've got a question from the floor. Alex, you mind going to the microphone? Yeah.
Hello. Alex,
can you introduce yourself? Sorry.
Alex Vale, Events Director at UK Finance. Thank you, everyone. Really, really good talks. There's been a lot of talk today about the tech and the digital part of hybrid. One of our priorities back at the ranch is trying to make sure that when we can get humans back in a room, the experience is as sensational as possible so that people fall in love with being in events and that we still have a future doing them. As a happy client, I'm very aware that top-notch banqueting has always been a thing here at Royal Lancaster, but it seems there's also an opportunity here with the live part of hybrid events to really ramp up the catering and the in-person experience that the 30 or however many you have on site get to experience. And I wondered what you're all doing about that and whether that's a focus as well as the digital part.
Very good question.
Can I
yeah,
answer?
please, absolutely.
It's a huge focus actually, and our teams have been happily challenged over the lockdown periods in working out, okay, how do we do this? And bento boxes, when we have taken it on a new lease of life, because those can all be done with very low contact. Our chefs have been very happily engineering different dishes that passing of canapes is going to be a challenge. So everything needs to change. But our chef and our service teams have all enjoyed just challenging each other to interpret the government guidelines to deliver safe service that's innovative and fun and connecting. So a bit later you'll have some of that. But so far the feedback that we've had from all the clients that we've had in, albeit only 30s at each time, has been phenomenal. And our team have also risen to the occasion. You know, just having to think about how to do coffee service and tea service without having contact in a luxury hotel is a challenge. But we've risen to it, and it's good fun how to see how it's interpreted. But you also have to be sensible. You know, I was told right at the start that I couldn't have crockery again. It's like, really? What's the difference between crockery and plastic? We're having crockery, deal with it. So you have to take the interpretation sensibly, make sure your dishwashers are doing everything properly. You know, sanitizing a room takes us 3 hours now, so the whole service of the bedrooms has had to change. Our guests now tell us what style of service they want. I went to a hotel where I was delivered my fresh towels because they weren't serviced in the rooms. We service as long as there's enough time for the guests to leave. We have fogger machines, we have ozone machines, we have all sorts. So it's a nice challenge to have to work it through, and it will continue being challenged. But I think in our industry, hospitality, broadly, events, totally, we're massively creative. And I think we quite like the challenge.
It's unexpected, isn't it? It's a
Yeah,
hygiene factor.
it's bring it on.
Here,
We'll
you
we'll
still
keep
expect
going.
those standards to be set.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to overrun by a couple of minutes because we're not a TV. We are live and everything else. And I've taken an executive decision there. Cheryl, I think you've got a question you'd like to throw to our panel.
Hi, it's Cheryl Czukowski from AFME. Just thank you very much, by the way, for hosting this. I jumped at the chance of leaving my computer and desk and my Trekkies, so wonderful. My question is actually hopeful, I hope. How are you seeing your inbound inquiries for the first quarter next year? Because it'd be great to see if people, other organizations are looking at going hybrid.
Why did you choose the first quarter? Just interesting. I mean, interestingly, we've all got inquiries coming in now.
Yeah, so we're all planning and our business partners are questioning whether or not we should go hybrid in the first quarter. So I'd be interested to know what other companies are thinking about it. Yeah.
I think, look, events are running right now. I mean, we're in one, but there are events, smaller events, and we shouldn't forget that hybrid is something that can be applied to 5 people as well as it can be applied to 3,000. And so, you know, a lot of our organizations that work with us for years are now coming back to us and going back into live, and they might have 2-3 delegates out of their audience that are joining as a virtual component. So that's happening already, is my message really. And planning, yes, Q1, Q2, a lot of people are starting to think about slightly bigger, but actually slightly more spread out rather than slightly bigger. I think it's going back to that solution of saying, well, if I can put 30 in one room and 30 in another room, and again, 30 in another, I've just got an event for 90 in the same building, but they're all in separate rooms.
Okay, I'm going to do my little thank yous now, and I'm going to ask you, each of you, for a closing comment, but, you know, one sentence comments, whatever I think about it. But I do want to say thank you to everybody here who has made an enormous effort to attend live, because the strangest thing is that, you know, if you were in town working in your offices, it's not that much of a trip. But I know half of you have come from out of town and had to sort of, you know, pack up early and make your way in here to town. But I hope you've found the benefit of here. And we are going to have a little drink and a few little nibbles, standing 6 feet apart. But it's good to see people face to face. It's you know, to me, it's emotional euphoria. That sounds right. But it's really, it's great to see people out. And everybody who's online, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you found this useful. We're still driving this conversation forward on a number of levels. And it's great to see that we can start coming back to some form of live engagement. And that's a big thank you to you, Sally, and to the Lancaster, Royal Lancaster, sorry, Hotel. It's a great facility. I've been here many, many times, but I just think, you know, the commitment that you took with your partners at Smart AV is massive. And like I said, you're going to be a trailblazer for many people in the industry. And I think a lot of hotels will be looking, oh shit, we can put up our socks and get on with this. And you guys, thank you so much, Adam and Deborah, for being part of this. And what's really interesting is to see that, like I said before, the hotel, venues, sorry, it's not hotels, venues are already ahead of the game. They're already thinking about this. So we're not talking about necessarily having to build from scratch and think of the cost of building from scratch. You can come to places, they've got their studios built, the stuff in place. I think that's what we need to be making sure we've got a list of who's available, what's out there, and everything else. And I'm going to give Chetan a quick plug on my book, because I know he's just about to launch something around that about, okay, who, you know, where are the tech suppliers, what are the platforms, and where can you do this stuff? So guys, closing comments, who'd like to go first?
I'm happy to go first.
Go, Deborah.
I'm just going to say that live events are here to stay. Hybrid events are probably part of that new normal. Hybrid events don't have to hurt. Embrace them.
Very true, very true. Adam?
I think it's a message to the corporate planners, really. You can get back to live. You just need a little bit of creativity from us event professionals. So start planning.
And they are, and our gracious host.
I'm delighted that we're all here today, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to sort of share what we've got. I think those events that need sponsorship to survive, I don't think they should panic. I think talk to a venue, talk to someone who has got a partnership like we have, and explain what your sponsorship used to look like, and they will help you work out what it could look like. And you'll find that the opportunities are even more diverse, and probably for the sponsor, better traction than there would have been of just being a host and a lunch that no one wants to talk to you at. So I think don't worry about that. And then in terms of going forward, our inquiries, people are getting more confident. I looked at the figures just before I came down here today. There's a client that's had an event with us that's been an awards dinner forever. And they are looking at going virtual for November, which is next month. They were booked in, they don't want to cancel, they're going to work out how to make it hybrid, how to make it now. We've got another piece of business in January that has just come in that was always live conference and event and exhibition, and that's now come. They're working with us on working out how much to go live, how much to go pre-record. And it's take the plunge, get brave, get on it, ask the questions, go to the professionals, and you will make it work.
Guys, thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. To everybody out there, to our people that are here, to our people out there in our virtual world, that's our first hybrid EMA exchange. I've made it through it. I'm desperate for a drink. Thank you very much indeed.